Cool, cool, cool. All right. So again, TGIF, y'all. Good afternoon. Happy Friday to everyone. So first of all, a very special greeting today. Do y'all know what today is? Right. I'm trying not to burst out into song. Right. Some of y'all are probably very familiar with what song I'm hinting at. Right. But do you know? Do you know what today is? Huh? Anybody? Y'all, it is SEL Day. So March 10th, 2023 is SEL Day for this particular year. We do have SEL days every year, but we're celebrating today for 2023. So at Holistic Fluency, y'all, we're super excited about it. I mean, really, any chance that we can to emphasize, focus on, and really just celebrate, right? All those things about social emotional learning, social emotional agility. I mean, we're with it. We're ready, right? Any of those things, we're ready to roam. So please do. Um, let's really take today as a launching pad, right? For a number of events, a number of experiences as we continue to build that awareness. Personally, at Holistic Fluency, you all, we have some events coming up, some products, services surrounding our favorite topics, right? So be on the lookout for more lives, some planned and some pop up, a few surprise ones, haha, with some interviews with some dynamic women who work diligently to impact our community. And that's one of the ways that we're celebrating Women's History Month. And we have a surprise reveal for our youngest generations. Yes, generations plural. We have something good coming up for y'all again as well. Okay. So, also our upcoming webinar, Beyond the Jargon, webinar that emphasizes supporting English language learners in math class. That's coming up very soon. We're about halfway, right? Counting down about 14 more days, getting close to 14 more days. It's on March 26th specifically at 3 CST. All right. Y'all, we are forever, forever about the work of seeing, studying, and supporting. And that proves true for whatever the space, whether it's classroom, like a math classroom, right? And regardless of the demographic for, in this situation, maybe like English language learners, we're forever about the work of seeing, studying, and supporting our fellow village members. That's the gist of it. All right. So, again, thank you for joining as we continue to build really the understanding our spaces, our interactions, and awarenesses, self and beyond, let me say, as we understand how they're interconnected and they're truly interrelated. It's just a beautiful mosaic of all of us, right? As the village. Is that too much? Y'all know sometimes I get into my little word choice, right? My wordplay. But I do really enjoy right creating that moment and kind of painting a picture, giving you something to anchor onto as we're setting up our time today. Anyway, right? Please say hello and let us know that you're tuning in. Stay tuned because very soon, make sure to keep your head on swivel because our media and press updates are almost close. I mean, they're very close. They're almost ready to be released, drop, dripped, whatever you say, right? All the things that people say. Um, some articles, some more podcast features, some magazine sightings, blog and blog posts. So just make sure that you're locked in with us, right? As we have some very good things coming up as part of the holistic fluency experience. All right. Y'all, we are super, super excited and grateful for this time and space that we have with you today. And again, thank you for joining us today. Again, please do say hi. Real quick, the BTJ Beyond the Jargon webinars, the free webinar, right, that we're supporting English language learners in math class. Someone on Instagram said, "You're returning to your roots." And that is where it all started for me, right, in this education space as a math teacher, where I always merged my understanding of analysis and data from math class, right, with those social emotional learning. So it's a blend. And this information, it is very timely, right? It's being presented right as we get close to the cusp of testing season, and it's offered as a free resource by design. So take advantage of this. The registration page is live. The link is in the bio. If you have any questions, just shoot us a quick message. Yeah, we're really working to make sure we're reflecting on, recognizing, and relating all within this realm of social emotional agility, right? We want to be sure that as we establish this knowledge, that we're going past that, as we're establishing and developing, that we move from increased awareness to not just understanding, but that we connect and apply it to the real world in real time. That's the goal, right? Not just to, and just to be clear that as we outline these things and we have evidence, right, of how everyone, everywhere is a piece of the puzzle and everything is seriously related, right? Nothing is in isolation at all. You know, whether you're catching this on replay, or you're on the replay of a previous live even, please do put hashtag replay in the comments to make sure that you touch base. Let us know that you're watching because we appreciate it. Can't say it enough. Thank you for tuning in. Also, in 2023, we're moving and executing with intention and the spirit of synergy. So let's do it. We're jumping right into it. Today, this discussion that we're facilitating is the recognition and application of an edified awareness. We're building that awareness, right? So always, again, moving from knowledge to action, right? Having the knowledge, but not doing anything literally with the information doesn't serve well, right? So actually having the knowledge and moving to action, that's what we want. That's what we're working towards. So we want you to be provoked. Some people say provoked and propelled to action as we maneuver, as we move from insight to and through different aspects and phases of life. All right. Now, y'all know that sometimes I like to give our chats a little subtopic, right? And sometimes it's a musical subtopic. So what about We Are One by Uncle Frankie Beverly and Maze, right? And sidebar, if you don't know who they are, please do look that up. Okay, look them up. Or another song that can go with our topic today, right? If we're talking about everyone and everything being connected and interrelated, what about maybe I'm just in a kind of a classic mood today. What about Make Us One by Philip Bailey, right? From the Elements, from Earth, Wind, and Fire, for sure. Right, that falsetto that you might remember from the group, that was him. That was Philip Bailey. Y'all, if you know either of these songs for our subtopic, whether it's We Are One or Make Us One, while we're talking about the connectedness of everyone and everything, y'all drop a music note, a music chord in the chat, right? A music note or a music chord in the chat, in the comments. Within our development, we're making sure that we don't just, again, we build and learn some of these things. We're not just going to put it in our pocket. We're not just going to whistle a tune, skip off into the sunset, and just kind of pull it out maybe or attempt to retrieve the information when it's convenient. Y'all, this social and emotional intelligence, this social and emotional learning is really character development, okay? It's going to take some resources. If we want some good stuff to come out, we have got to put some good stuff in, right? If we expect goodness and greatness, we have to put some good stuff in for that to happen. So it's a process and it's going to take some resources. So with that, y'all, the biggest investment, well, we're going to say that, yeah, it's going to take some time, right? That it must be planned for with fidelity and practiced consistently. Hey, Nicole, how you doing? Right? Y'all, we're past the moments. We're past the moments of just a pop-in message or a pop-in session here and there. If we're truthful, that approach, that's not impactful. It isn't lasting, and it hasn't worked in a long time, if ever, right? So it hasn't really required much. And so that's kind of why we have not been getting this best output, right? If we have not invested much, it's because we're not getting a great output. You can't have one without the other, right? So much of this social emotional learning, this social emotional intelligence, much of this work is really mindset development. So it's not to be confused with positivity, resilience, perseverance, grit, and a host of other words that people like to use. It's not the same thing. Okay. They come up commonly in these conversations, but they're not the same, right? Most of this is a shift in mindset because you have to think about its value. And when I say value, you have to really think about um, its impact on your desired outcomes. What do you really want to happen? You think about the placement of SEL, SEI. When we say placement, that means, is it a priority? How much of a priority should it be? And then you also have to consider its role. So is it an essential pillar to our process, or are we just kind of doing a little lip service? We're giving a lip service response. So those are things, real questions that have to be answered in a real way, though, right? So mindset development, definitely, right? Sheila said, is SEL? It is. It is social emotional learning, social emotional intelligence, for sure. Y'all, so with that being said, remember, we're asking y'all to talk to us a bit, right? So if something is resonating with you, you find it insightful, you can drop some music notes, drop the chord, an instrument, right? Any emoji that has a musical theme in the comments, that's fine. And we'll pause for a moment. Just because we mentioned the role of SEL and SEI, right? Whether it's an essential pillar or if we're just paying lip service, we've often discussed how at some point along the way, the majority perspective is life as a checklist. The majority perspective is life as a checklist. So think about it. Many people bounce from one thing to another in a very task-oriented way. They're not fully engaged. They're not reflecting. They're not celebrating. They're just moving, just moving. And yes, even in relationships, and I think y'all know how I feel about that, right? So even in relationships, y'all, whatever the space, whether it's home, work, spaces, other organizations, it's just a task list, very task oriented, y'all. But the intention and the authenticity is lacking, whether or not they realize it, right? So we're definitely not a fan. We're definitely not a fan of that. So we're calling for a shift from a checklist mindset to a domino mindset. And let me call time out for a minute. Because I know some of y'all are like, okay, well, ma'am, dominoes, life is not, life is not a game while we're playing games. So when we talk about dominoes, in this case, we're referring to the stacking of dominoes. Have y'all ever watched, ever seen one of those videos, right? Or have you ever seen someone do it in real life? Oh my goodness, right? So if you have, please share what you saw, like share what they were creating and things if you have seen one of those. But yeah, these artists, these artisans, these for sure creatives, the process where they've created some of the most, and this, y'all are like, you're dramatic. They've really created some of the most breathtaking pieces that I've seen, because for me, it's art in motion. So it's not just, okay, they created something, just understanding the whole process that had to go into it for them to get to this point, right? That's some of what a large portion of my appreciation stems from for that. So imagine if we were able to, right, take a behind the scenes look at the process. Just real quick, just think, some of these designs have been portraits, they've been mosaics, geometric patterns, any and everything you can think of. But imagine if we were able to take a behind the scenes look at this process, right? This stacking dominoes. And we know that it wasn't approached as a standard checklist. We know that, right? There's sketches, there's designs. Then the work begins actually where they plan out and do the measurements. So measurements in terms of spacing, measurements in terms of angles, planning for color details, where we have ombre, right? Where there be other color progressions and patterns. The trial and error. that they do in different phases, different portions of the overall design that they want to do. And then the number of adjustments that they would have to make over time. So making adjustments at the plan level, at the sketch level, at the execution levels. I mean, and I'm sure, listen, y'all know I'm not a domino chain professional, so I'm sure that I've missed some steps, but we get an idea, right? So even with all that, just some of the details I have been able to think about and mention, can you imagine how much time was spent? Can y'all imagine how much time was spent going into this domino chain design, plan, execution, adjustment? And the thing about it is, y'all, all of this was literally for a domino chain. I'm gonna say it again. All of this was for a domino chain. But think about when we're moving in our daily regular lives, we want to freestyle and breeze through relationships, interactions, and exchanges with those in our spaces. Right? There's a whole group of people, like it's a whole movement, it's a thing. All this time, all these intricacies, these details are gone into, will go into rather, right? These domino chains. But again, when it comes to connecting with those closest to us, whether workspace, home space, other organizations, we want to freestyle and breeze through. What? What? So a lot of times people are paying lip service, right? They just want to be able to put a check mark in very minimal investments. Well, then we wonder why they're having some issues with morale, with motivation, with retention. And I'm going to say this one more time. A few weeks ago, I talked about how if it weren't for a biological connection and age in some situations, that some of our young people would have quit their adults, right? Some of our young people would have quit, quote unquote, their adults. So again, thinking about where we're investing and how we're investing our time. Checklist, domino chain, understanding the impact, the plan, the details. Y'all, as we move past this theory right into application, we're engaging in the practice. We have to live it out loud, and we have to work through the shenanigans and the faux pas. So the depth of the connectedness, the depth of the interlacing, as we have these approaches and these impacts, is really obvious, right? We've gone over where to start. We're starting to remedy some of these situations and how to start going about doing the work, how to get past the minimal checklist, the lip service, and the surface. Past that, we're much deeper than that. So we've talked about how to engage authentically so that you can see your people. Then you spend some time studying your people so you know their tendencies, you know their quirks, you know their habits, right? So because when you know these things, you can correctly recognize, right? Maybe when something is wrong, and you can recognize it without having to ask, right? When you've truly studied your people. And then just because of the previous work, right? The work of seeing and studying, you know how to show up to support. So that includes you knowing how to switch the support style, frequency, and overall dynamic. Simply and literally because you know them, you know your people, you took that time, you really invested that time, right? There's not really much that surprises you, right? Because you took that time. So you know when they're hungry or if there's a deeper issue, right? You know if they're seeking attention or if they're genuinely concerned. You'll know when they hold, not just when, but why they hold certain priorities, even if they don't align with yours, but it's still necessary to the puzzle, to the domino chain. All of that will be understood. There won't be as much questioning, uncertainty, right? If we took that time to do the first two steps, to see and study. So while we're reflecting on everyone as a puzzle piece, let me also say this. We must understand that, again, there is a process, right? And in this process, there are roles that have to be defined, but not only defined, they have to, I've said this before, we have to inspect what we expect, and we have to do so regularly. Just because the expectation is set, just because, a good tone was set, the rollout went well, that doesn't mean that that's the end. That's literally the beginning. That's the launch. Like we talked about today being a different level in a launch in awareness when it comes to SEL, right? But again, we're connecting these thoughts and these pieces on this day. So whatever pieces have been connected for you, or again, if something resonates or hits differently, again, you could drop your musical notes, your musical instruments. So we all know that in puzzles, right? So one of my aunts, I remember this from my childhood growing up. One of my aunts really, really loves puzzles, right? And so one thing I remember learning early on from her and watching her do puzzles is that puzzles come in different sizes and different piece counts, if you will. So if they come in different counts in different sizes, then that really impacts the difficulty level, right? But in any situation, y'all, regardless of the puzzle count, size, type, right, what you're actually creating once you finish putting your puzzle together, in any situation, the puzzle isn't complete without all of the pieces. Y'all are like, duh, Anika. Right, but hold that thought though. If it's not complete without all of the pieces, it can literally be an eyesore, right? It can be to the point of frustration. I mean, it just causes a lot of unnecessary drama, right? You'll tear everything apart looking for that one piece so you can finish this puzzle. So just think about that for a moment as we're drawing these parallels, people to puzzle pieces, right? So we talked about the perspective problem before, that we have a perspective problem. Usually most of the development that needs to happen, the most impactful development is people's self-awareness and then their awareness when it comes to interacting with others, those two sides of the coin. So all of that revolves around, again, social emotional learning and social emotional intelligence, that development. Y'all, so on this SEL, this Social Emotional Learning Day 2023, regardless of how recently or how long ago you became aware of SEL, SEI, there is value in each part of the process, the discovery, the awareness, and personalization of these as we reconsider how people and experiences connect to shape our world, right? So, if you need some ideas, again, on where to start building your awareness, you're always welcome to use our link to schedule a coffee chat. And at this point, y'all, we've been dropping some gems all along the way, right? Several, like every live. I mean, we've created a whole jewelry store with display cases and everything. Seriously. Okay, so you have some options. But please do check out our lives as we're really working to build this relational capacity all around. Okay. You can always start there, right? In addition to, again, scheduling a coffee chat. So the list for the research, right? Some people may be listening. You're still like, I mean, I hear you said some things, but a lot of this I'm not sure about, right? Next week, we're going to be talking about some objections and concerns some people have about social emotional intelligence development, right? That agility development. But there's some research that speaks very positively to it. So I'm going to go over that really quickly. So, in terms of being socially and emotionally agile, it can make a difference between you getting the job and keeping the job. It then also makes a difference between you keeping the job and actually getting promoted, right? It adds value, y'all. It adds value to bottom lines, talking to corporate spaces right now. Bottom lines, your client journeys, relationships, right? Relationships everywhere, clients, workspace, parenthood, friendships with your partner, right? Y'all, every possible space. But be clear on this, that it's self first, right? I always try to emphasize and make sure we're clear that it's self first, then it ripples. Think about, again, the domino chains to others. And that literally causes the shift. That willingness, if you're willing to be authentic, transparent, do the work diligently. Y'all, again, it's not checking a box. It's not a one-time thing. We're thinking about the investment again of those domino chain stackers, right? It's a certain kind of puzzle. Like the domino chain itself is a puzzle. That's one of the reasons we chose that topic, thinking about it that way. Okay, that making sure you inspect with fidelity, you're doing the work diligently, consistently, because it's an ongoing process. That all of that is understood. Okay, y'all. So my name is Anika S. Jones, and I do serve as the lead consultant of Holistic Fluency. I'm also known as the community curator. We work to add value and support, whether it's with individuals or organizations, again, to build that relational capacity and to build that emotional agility. So we often say that we want people to be relational ninjas out here. And guess what I found out recently? That a group of ninjas is called a hedge. So we have a name now. So we want you to be a part of the holistic hedge, right? So make sure that you like, save, follow, share, and repost, right? And so thank you for listening today. We appreciate each of you sincerely. We hope that you enjoyed this session. It was a quick one, but we hope that you enjoyed it. And again, we'll be doing some pop ups, some surprise lives weekly mixed in with our scheduled one. So thank you again for joining. We look forward to seeing you soon. Bye bye.